Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're zooming in on literally one of the most iconic, beloved sitcom characters in TV history. I mean, we all know the guy, right? The perfectly timed one-liners, the brilliant physical comedy, the absolute mastery of sarcasm. He was the undisputed king of comedy in a friend group that was already, let's be real, packed with huge personalities. But what if we've been missing something super crucial about him this entire time? Like, what if every single joke wasn't just him being funny, but actually a carefully constructed mask?
Okay, it's a heavy question, I know. And look, just to be completely upfront here, the show never explicitly diagnoses Chandler with depression. There's no hidden official plot twist we're exposing. But what we're doing today is taking a really fascinating thought experiment. We're going to look at his legendary comedy, not just as entertainment, but as a potential coping mechanism. We're putting on a totally different, much more psychological lens. And honestly, once you start looking at the evidence, wow, the picture it paints is just incredibly compelling.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the comedian's secret mask. Let's actually observe Chandler's day-to-day behavior through this new perspective, because right from the jump, you see these glaring signs of internal struggle. Think about it. While the rest of the gang is out there dealing with external drama, Ross obsessing over his relationships, or Joey sweating over acting auditions, Chandler's worries, they are almost entirely internal. He struggles massively with self-confidence. He is constantly putting himself down, usually before anyone else even gets the chance. He basically operates on this baseline assumption that no one is ever going to take him seriously, and he actively positions himself as the least impressive person in the room. Now, normally, we watch this and think, oh, that's just his quirky comedic vibe. And yeah, it is. It's hilarious. But if you consider the possibility that he was secretly dealing with depression, suddenly those exact same moments carry a much heavier, way more heartbreaking weight.
And that brings us to Section 2, sarcasm as a shield, because his specific brand of humor doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It functions like a finely tuned machine to block emotional intimacy. In psychology, using humor as a coping mechanism is actually super common. It's the practice of using comedy to manage stress, anxiety, or sadness by creating, like, a literal distance from painful emotions. It forms a protective shield. And if you watch Chandler, really watch him, he deploys this shield constantly. Anytime a topic gets a little too real or a little too serious, you can see him get visibly, physically uncomfortable. Genuine vulnerability is just flat out terrifying to him.
Let's move to and see how this builds into what we can call the deflection loop. I want to slow down for a second and walk you through this exact cycle, because I guarantee, once you see it, you'll spot him doing it in almost every single episode. Step 1, somebody brings up an emotional topic or tries to have a genuine, heartfelt moment. Step 2, boom, Chandler immediately fires off a joke. Step 3, that sincere, heavy energy in the room shatters, and things get awkward or funny. And Step 4, vulnerability is successfully avoided. Mission accomplished. He does this over and over and over. Someone confronts him, joke. Someone shares a painful truth, joke. It's incredibly charming for sure, but through our new psychological lens, it's clearly the behavior of a guy frantically backpedaling away from his own uncomfortable feelings.
Which begs the question, where does this all come from? Let's get into Section 3, the pain beneath punchlines. To understand the root of this behavior, we really have to look backwards into his history. The show reminds us time and time again that Chandler's childhood was, frankly, a mess. His entire foundation was built on instability. He grew up surrounded by deep confusion, emotional discomfort, and a super dramatic, incredibly public divorce right around the holidays, which, shocker, is exactly why he hates them. He's always dropping these deeply embarrassing, painful childhood memories, and sure, the studio audience roars with laughter, but underneath that laugh track, there is a kid who experienced intense emotional turmoil during his most critical developmental years. And research consistently tells us that those kinds of early experiences take a massive toll on self-esteem later in life. It creates a highly believable foundation for someone fighting a quiet internal battle. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute core of our theory. Just look at this massive contrast between his objective, real-world success and his deep internal dissatisfaction. On the left side, you've got the external Chandler. Steady career, amazing, tight-knit friends, eventually a deeply loving relationship, and yeah, he always gets the big laugh. But then look at the right side, the internal Chandler. Deep down, he feels genuinely lost. He actively hates his job, right? But he just stays there for years because he literally doesn't believe he can do any better. He constantly questions what his fundamental value even is to the group, and whenever someone genuinely appreciates him, he's totally shell-shocked. It's like he fundamentally cannot accept positive truths about himself, even when the proof is staring him right in the face.
This huge disconnect between having it all together on the outside but hurting on the inside perfectly fits a pattern that's colloquially called high-functioning depression. It's a condition where someone struggles deeply behind closed doors but appears totally fine to the rest of the world. They show up to work every day, they laugh at parties, they're the absolute life of the room. They've just gotten really, really good at hiding the pain. The specific clinical terms might vary, but the vital takeaway here is that emotional struggles aren't always something you can visibly see. In fact, a person's constant, brilliant humor might make them the absolute last person you'd ever suspect was hurting. But the beautiful thing is, Chandler doesn't stay stuck in that loop forever. Let's pivot to section 4, the Monica effect, and look at how one specific relationship completely changed his life. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Monica didn't just wave a magic wand and cure him. Real life, and honestly, good television, just doesn't work that way. What she actually did was give him something he had literally never had before: consistent, unwavering emotional safety. She actively challenges him when his instinct is to run away. She relentlessly supports and encourages him. But above all else, she accepts the real Chandler. Not just the funny guy, not just the bit machine. She embraces the deeply vulnerable, insecure version of him. She gave him the anchor he desperately needed to finally navigate his own difficult emotions. And because he finally has that safety net, we get to watch this phenomenal upward trajectory. Step 1, you have the early Chandler, terrified of commitment, drowning in self-doubt. Step 2, he finally finds that emotional safety with Monica. Step 3, the guy actually starts taking risks. He quits that soul-crushing job. He starts showing real emotional honesty without instantly throwing up a sarcastic smokescreen. And step 4, he transforms into this incredibly devoted, vulnerable, deeply loving husband and father. He's still hilarious, obviously, his core sense of humor never goes away, but the jokes aren't a desperate shield anymore. The comedy is just a part of who he is instead of a place to hide. So what does this all mean for us? Let's bring it home with section 5, why this theory matters. Why does looking at a 90s sitcom character like this strike such a chord with millions of fans today? I think it resonates so strongly because when we look at Chandler through this psychological lens, we kind of see pieces of ourselves, don't we? We recognize those jokes we tell when we're actually hurting inside. We see our own insecurities that we try so hard to bury under a mask of confidence or sharp sarcasm. We totally get that terrifying fear of being truly vulnerable with someone else. And man, we all know that quiet, nagging feeling that everyone else in the room has life totally figured out while we're just silently scrambling to keep our heads above water. Chandler essentially acts as a mirror for the silent battles so many people fight in the real world every single day, all while projecting a perfectly functional outward appearance. So the crucial point is this: the funniest person in the room may be carrying burdens nobody sees. I actually want to let that linger for a second. It's just such a powerful reminder that people are always, always more complicated than they seem on the surface. That super outgoing friend, the one bringing all the energy and joy to the group, they might be fighting a battle they never, ever talk about. Sometimes the folks who spend all their energy making absolutely sure everyone else is laughing are the exact ones who need our support the most. Whether the writers explicitly plan this or not, it gives us this incredibly beautiful new way to appreciate the emotional depth hidden beneath the punchlines of one of television's greatest characters. So, I'm going to leave you with this thought to take into your own life. The next time a friend or loved one deflects a serious, heavy moment with a legendary, perfectly timed sarcastic remark, ask yourself, was it really just a joke? Or is there something much more meaningful, something that really needs your support, hiding just underneath? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I challenge you to look a little closer at the punchlines in your own life. Catch you next time.